Hey guys, what is up? It's Dusty here and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. And today I have a lot of exciting things to share as I first want to talk about what's going on in the crypto market right now, specifically about the crypto prices, before heading over a little bit into a very important thing every iOS user needs to know about MetaMask and basically keeping your funds safe. Then we have a little bit of news on Sandbox, a little bit of news on Shiba Inu, we have a little bit of news on Cardano, and then a little bit of news about the Federal Reserve, or at least economists predict the Fed's response to inflation. Just some interesting stuff. Having said that, the crypto market is doing quite juicily this morning. Bitcoin is up about 5% standing at $40,779. Ethereum $3,049 at about plus 4.5% as well. The rest of the top 10, does it really matter? Well, a couple of them do. For example, XRP is at 76.8 cents at about 3.7% in the plus. And funny enough, Terra overtook Cardano with a whopping 14% in the plus over the last 24 hours, standing at a beautiful $90.5. So conclusion, most of the crypto top 10 is in single digit pluses at an average of about plus 5%, and that's very nice to see. There's this little story that I tell you guys almost every single day, which has to do with the correlation in the crypto market. I just want to quickly let you guys know that it's still exactly the same, which what I mean with that is S&P, NASDAQ, and the Bitcoin index, they basically follow the same pattern, and you can clearly see that the general idea, oh, I just misclicked. What I was saying was that the correlation between the S&P, NASDAQ, and Bitcoin is still ridiculously high. And what we're generally speaking seeing is a downtrend. I don't think you guys are able to miss that. Ever since the end of March, the crypto prices and from, I guess, most indices, the prices are going down. But over a little bit of a longer term, if you, for example, pull this line from all the way back since January, the trend is actually quite positive. For example, I've done that here in this chart for Bitcoin on the 1 day. This is a 1 day chart, so every little candle is 1 day over on Bitstamp. And hopefully, you guys are able to see what I mean. If we take a look at all the way back in January to right now, the only strange part is that yesterday we broke down quite rapidly and it was looking, because it was near the end of the day, that we were going to close below it. But Bitcoin went on a crazy rapid spree. And that again shows how beautiful or how strong this trend line is. Because the matter of the fact is that Bitcoin did again bounce back above it. And right now is showing quite some bullish signs because it did. If you guys get the drift, it bounced off of this trend line such a huge amount of times that, again, the likelihood just keeps getting higher that we're going to be trending towards the upside rather than downside because it keeps doing so. So short term, what are our resistances? I would say the most important ones lie here at about the higher end of the 41,000s. So we can see here we have this little supply zone of Bitcoin at 41.8 thousand or so. We can also see the EMA ribbons kind of coincide at that point. So 42,000, 41.8 US dollars, 41.8 thousand US dollars, of course. And as of this point, since we didn't break down, if we did break down, my honest expectation was going to be 37.5 thousand. And yesterday, if you asked me, I would have actually said, and that's what I said in my video, that because we're going to close below here, we're going to most likely see that level. But the fact of the matter is that we didn't close there. We actually had a crazy rebound intraday. The price pumped about 6% in that entire day, which is crazy, going from 38.5 to 40.8 thousand in that single day, which is, again, pretty crazy to me. And that, again, has ignited this little bullish momentum that we are feeling yet again. In regards to XRP, I'm also going to say that I have this same little bias. We can draw a couple of different trend lines dating all the way back since January. They follow the same path. They've just had less time to basically react to that specific trend line because we faced a bigger pump and, I guess, a consolidation that was not as deep as with Bitcoin. What I'm trying to say is right now we're exactly in the middle for XRP. We can literally break down further, go all the way back towards 67 cents, or just start pumping from here going to 86 cents. We right now are at my key resistance slash support level, 0.77. I've told you guys a dozen times, 1,000 times by now, the most important price point for XRP is going to be 0.777 or 0.77 at least. That's the point where it hovers around nearly half the time. It's been doing so for months upon months upon months. And so it's an inflection point basically. We can really turn around heavily here and start dumping or start pumping like crazy. But I do, to be honest with you, think it's just going to follow along with Bitcoin's momentum. And as it currently stands, since we're just kind of getting to that single supply zone for XRP, going towards the bottom demand zone, every time kind of passing and doing this little shenanigans at the middle, that the higher likelihood is that we're going to be seeing this upside at about 86 cents in the short term. And that's honestly what I'm preparing for as well. Having said that, if you are still looking for a platform to trade on, for example, Bitcoin, for example, XRP, one of the ones you might want to take a look at is Margex. It's one I've been using for a little while, as you guys probably know. And one of the best features of this specific exchange is, let's say you were to want to trade some Bitcoin, some XRP. It doesn't really matter what exactly you want to trade. Let's say you want to trade, for example, XRP. I have here, for example, 0.14 Bitcoin inside. If you, for example, want to trade this, you can actually go ahead and go to the XRP USD pair and use the Bitcoin that you have in your balance to trade XRP. So again, guys, what I'm doing here is leverage trading, and I'm basically saying this. I want to trade, for example, $1,000 worth, again, on the XRP to USD pair. That's, again, a 4% of this specific balance right there, which equates to this amount of Bitcoin at 5 times leverage. That would cost me, for example, at the bottom here, you can see the margin that it's about to cost me basically to acquire this specific trade. I can also go, for example, for a 100 times leverage. You guys get the deal. You guys get exactly how it works, which would put me at a very small cost to, for example, trade $1,000 worth of XRP. And that's, again, very convenient system. Why? I've told you guys a couple times before. On different exchanges, you have different options. For example, on Bybit, one we use, you can use XRP to trade XRP, which at the end of the day is a really easy system because you make your money in the XRP. On a lot of other exchanges, you can use your dollars to trade whatever. In this exchange, you can use anything to trade anything. So if you deposit Bitcoin, you can trade ADA with it. If you deposit whatever other thing is possible, you can trade whatever other thing is possible on there, if you guys get my drift. So I really honestly think it's one of the best systems that exchanges have ever gone for. And I'm not really sure why not every exchange has this. And I think it's going to be coming though. But that's why Margex is really at the top of their game with this. And by far, it is the best exchange for leverage trading in terms of compatibility with different currencies in this sense. It's the best. The only con to it is that they don't have a crazy amount of pairs just quite yet. But I'm going to be honest with you, I think they have the easiest out of every single leverage exchange out there in terms of like overview and just how you have to use it. At one point or another, I'll definitely be doing a review of this if you guys want. I've been doing a lot of reviews on different exchanges. I think is very useful for people just to understand the differences and what exactly they should go for to what your preferences are basically. But I think by far this is the easiest one to go for, which is why I love to have them on the channel. You guys already know. So just once more so you guys understand, whatever you deposit, let's say for example you deposit DAI, let's say you deposit Bitcoin, it does not really matter. You can trade XRP with it, Litecoin with it, EOS with it, ADA with it, Bitcoin with it. It doesn't matter what you deposit, you can trade anything with whatever. And again, the trading system is very simple. You have limit orders, you have market orders, you have stop market. I personally always go for market just because it's easiest. And again, you just, in this little section, put in the amount of money you'd like to trade. Here, the amount of whatever. You can use either one of these. For example, I want to use half my balance or just a small part. Again, make sure you go over this carefully. Don't just do anything irrationally. Think about it and read through because this stuff is a little bit dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. Then the order size is just how much money it's going to be. The amount of leverage you use. Again, the higher, the riskier you are going to be doing it, but also the more profit or losses you can make with that. And you can see, you can understand everything. The rest is just logic, I would say. Here's just the exact price you'd be buying it or the exact price you'd be selling it. This is basically as going long. This basically is going short. And that basically means you can actually make money if you predict the price is going down or make money if you predict the price is going up. Then there's a very interesting article. Economist predicts the Fed's response to inflation will push crypto higher. Allianz chief economic advisor Mohamed El-Arian says that the Federal Reserve response to inflation will cause prices of crypto like Bitcoin to go higher. He noted, that's what you get when you've waited too long to recognize what inflation is and to take action. Quote, I think the markets have understood that we have three issues. One is high, persistent inflation is with us. Two is the Fed is way behind. And three, the pathway for orderly disinflation is pretty narrow. One other fun fact is that Goldman Sachs came out Monday saying that there's a 35% probability of a recession in the next 2 years. That's a meaningful number, he said. So the big question is, can we navigate this inflation growth landscape that has become much more difficult, he noted, adding that bank CEOs are worried about the macro environment. Another quote is, what you're seeing across the board is the restoration of value. And that's a good thing. You're seeing it in stocks, you're seeing it in bonds, you're seeing it in crypto. We're just adjusting to the paradigm in which liquidity is no longer abundant and no longer predictable. So I view this as part of the restoration of value that we are seeing in quite a few assets. Not all of them yet, but quite a few already. It's interesting. I've told you guys a dozen times before, if you're not putting your money to use right now in the crypto space, you're literally wasting it, I think, personally. There's a little bit of a risk to reward type of situation where if you are going for things like Terra, so Anchor, for example, protocol, getting 19.5% a freaking year, I think the risk to reward is pretty good, you know? I honestly think the risk to reward is really amazing on that. If you're staking USDT, if you're doing that in, for example, a Binance or something like that, if they still provide that, or a Bybit, I think it's also fine. If you're doing that, however, in like a really sketchy protocol, or you're using Curve for example, like a 1% yield a year, yeah, I'm not going to say that's the best thing to do. I would say only go for things which have minimal impermanent loss and actually have a return of above 6% to actually make it worth it at all. But preferably above 8% or so. Even I would prefer above 10%. With, again, minimal risk. You have to just assess that for yourself. Purely because if inflation is about 8% a year right now, which is crazy, and you have this capital gains tax looming, you kind of got to have a little buffer for that little multiplier. And I would say, yeah, go for, that 8% plus about 30% or so. You guys get the drift, right? Where you come to about 10, 11% or so. That would be beautiful to get. Then, a little warning to all of y'all. This is very important. MetaMask advises users to disable automatic iCloud backups of its wallet data to prevent hacks. Now, personally, I don't have this. I don't use MetaMask on a phone. I would highly recommend against using it unless you're doing small amounts of money. I would never try to involve anything with your phone, if you guys get my drift. It's just not worth it, in my opinion. But apparently, MetaMask has notified users that automatic data backups in Apple devices can possibly lead to stolen funds. The warning came a few days after one MetaMask user lost $655,000 worth of assets due to a compromised iCloud account. That sometimes makes me scared, the idea that you can lose money through, ways you think are quote-unquote safe. Having a backup, you're doing that for safety purposes, and that's what gets you hacked. Then again, there's also a little sense of common sense here. If you are a crypto person, like a lot of the people watching this video right now are, be 50 times more cautious than the average human being. Why? Well, you got to think about it. People might hunt you literally because they know you have the money or you might have this crypto. Nobody knows exactly how much you have. I, for example, might have $1, might have $10, might have $1,000 to my name. Nobody really knows. And the same goes for if you made an account to Binance. Nobody knows if you have $50 billion or just $5 in that. But they're going to look for it though. They're going to try because you are a potential higher lead than just somebody who didn't make that crypto exchange account, for example. In the same sense here, they're most likely just trying a ton of different people and they're just lucky with some. But if MetaMask themselves has just said, hey, be careful with this, yeah, be careful with that. Again, I'm not exactly sure how this works. The wallet software maker has advised you to disable such data backups. And I'm also not exactly sure how, if you have an Apple iCloud backup, how that can get all the money out of your MetaMask. Because I'm thinking, well, you still have to log in, sort of, right? But I'm not exactly sure because I don't use this MetaMask app. So I just can't tell you. Warning came a few days after Dominic Lacavone. Why can I... Lacavone. Lacavone. I don't know. I have no idea. Claimed to have lost several NFTs and assets worth about $600,000. What happened was the hacker gained control of Levicone's iCloud account and stole the wallet's key store a file with JSON format that held an encrypted version of the wallet's private key needed to authorize transactions. There we go. Notably, Apple's mobile devices can automatically upload app data in the backup process. Files containing private keys, which are meant to be only used locally on the device, can get uploaded to Apple's cloud servers, which malicious entities may gain access to event of a phishing attack, for example. Yeah, just be cautious with this, all right? You guys get the drift. I want to read further into it, but I'm thinking you guys get the whole schmoly of this article right here. Just be careful. According to Serpent, a founder of a crypto-focused security firm, Sentinel, the perpetrator posed as someone from Apple Inc. and sent text messages to Lecovone asking to reset his Apple ID password. Hacker called Lecovone on his phone number and used a spoofed caller ID. Okay, they went through some trouble. Again, you have to use a little bit of common sense here. And just never, okay, there's a couple easy tips as well. Never use somebody else's links. Always use whatever search engine you are most comfortable with, that you trust the most. But preferably just type in your own URLs that you can, just think about logically. Reset whenever look, again, if some Apple is calling you with this spoofed caller ID showing that it's really Apple, and they're saying, please reset your account, we're going to be sending you an email or a text to your number with our official Apple number that you can verify on the website that it's real. It's like, well, it's a difficult one. And again, at some point, you might just say, they duped me, they got me good. Hey, accept your loss. But in most cases, it's preventable. And that's why I always keep saying, just triple, quadruple, quintuple check everything. If Apple's going to call me, I hang the freaking thing up. I'm going to call Apple, if you guys get my drift. I'm going to call them and ask, hey, I just got called. Could this be real? They might be like, yeah, let me look into it for you. As an example, somebody calls you from a company like this. Say, all right, I'm going to hang up. I'm going to call you guys. Is that okay? If they say, no, then you're like, oh, why not? And if they say, yeah, sure, go ahead. And you call them and the issue's there, well, okay. If they say, no, it's really urgent, then just say, okay, I'm going to really urgent you call you guys back. Is that fine? They say, no, it's not possible. And they say, but how can I trust you? You see what I'm trying to say right there? There's a couple ways to go about it. Not always, you have to think about this. I remember really well, there was these advertisements from ING, the bank, which says, I don't know what it says, but it basically says, if they call you, hang up the phone and call them yourself or something like that. I remember that really, I remember something along those lines, which is just stuck by me, I guess. So if they ever call me, no luck, all right? I'm just going to call them and see what's up. Sandbox gears up to raise $400 million at a $4 billion valuation. This is huge. Blockchain-based gaming company Sandbox is reportedly raising $400 million at a $4 billion valuation from both new and existing investors, which is huge. $400 billion round. I talked about it before. This is where the big VCs make crazy amounts of money, where the small fry usually is not really getting out there. If they're raising $400 million at a $4 billion valuation, these guys are really onto something. Blockchain-based gaming company, huh? I really wonder as well what the next step for something like Sandbox is going to be, specifically in times like this where metaverse is not necessarily as popular as it was a couple months ago, and it's mostly going to pick back up the pace, but in a couple of months when the bull run picks back up, why would they be raising this? What are they going for? Really interesting to see this. Really interesting to think about that. But it's not really one of our concerns for right now. What is more of our concern is Shiba Inu. We all know that the Robinhood situation was a little bit more of a letdown than many imagined. This is when to buy Shiba Inu before it breaks out, though. Here's one investor who has a very interesting opinion about the matter, even though he does not really share anything too critical. I was thinking, well, there are a couple of different stocks that might help out with this, that we might be able to think about, relating it back to GME and everything. But to be honest with you, I was putting all my freaking faith into this Robinhood situation, and since that didn't really pump the Shiba Inu price to the freaking moon, I'm still wondering a little bit what's the next big thing for Shiba Inu? If you guys get my drift, what is there that's going to really propel this? Is it still the Robinhood situation? It's just not fully developed yet? Maybe, right? Maybe. It's the same thing for Doge. We could always count on the next thing, like for example, Elon Musk taking over Twitter, so he's going to push Doge tipping and everything. But for Shiba Inu, I thought the Robinhood thing was the biggest deal coming up. What's the next big thing then? If you guys are thinking with me, with a meme coin or a coin that's like this, you always want to look for the next big thing that's going to make it pump. Maybe metaverse, the Shiba Inu metaverse, maybe something like that. Maybe the bigger NFT collections. Those things could definitely do something. You guys get the drift, right? But that's always what I'm looking for, and yeah. And then regarding Cardano Jet release date. When will the Cardano stablecoin launch? I talked about it before. The most important thing for Cardano by far is this stablecoin. It's the one thing you need to get an ecosystem going. We all know that Cardano, in terms of development, has been doing quite good. Cardano records 400 new projects building on ADA in a month, bringing the total to almost 900. Those were some good announcements. As of today, nearly 900 projects are building on Cardano, and this number goes up day by day. Keeping track of all the news from this incredible ecosystem is not easy, and this is why every week we compile an ecosystem digest with highlights and updates. Having said that, you gotta remember, JED release date, when? As always, nobody knows, because what they say is the platform has recently unveiled new details and a roadmap that outlines a new launch date for Cardano's JED stablecoin. As per sources, the new JED stablecoin will launch in 2022. However, a fixed date is yet to be announced, which means you have absolutely nothing to do with this information except for the fact that Cardano is working on things as always. And that's again the nasty part about Cardano, which is that there's a progress. There's always a couple of steps behind, but going forward, so what do you do with it is the question. What do you do with the information? 900 now. What does it mean? What do the numbers mean? It's hard. It's really hard to determine the Cardano price reasonably, to put any expectation on it, because what exactly makes the price pump? Is it announcements of future things? Is it the Justin Sun method of making an announcement of an announcement? Is it literal usage of the ecosystem? Well, but again, everything is still in its infancy stage. So from that perspective, nothing should really increase the value yet because it's so little in comparison to other layer ones. But again, that's just my thought process. I think Cardano is juicy, but it's just slower to do things. But eventually, it'll catch up, so I'm not too worried about it. Having said that, guys, that was it for today's video. I know I've been doing a couple of longer videos here. It's because I want to really make sure it's just a good video instead of doing some of the crappy ones I've been doing last week. I wasn't really happy and satisfied with the quality. Here, I just am able to do my whole talk and talk the way I really want to about all this crypto stuff. I'm happy you're making them like this. So I'm sorry if it's a little bit too long for some of the people. I'm trying to make them a lot shorter. You guys understand. I try to always do like 12 minutes. I got distracted a little bit, so that's what happened. That was it for today's video, though. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you press the like button and subscribe, and I will definitely see you guys again in another crypto video later today.